The world of camera technology evolves at lightning speed, and every time a new camera hits the market, it's a challenge to keep up with, or surpass, the competition. If you've been keeping an eye on Canon, you may be wondering what's next. The EOS R1 was a game-changing device, but with Sony's flagship A93 pushing the limits of what's possible, one can't help but ask, will Canon rise to the challenge with a global shutter in the much-anticipated EOS R1 Mark II? Could this be the innovation that defines the next generation of professional cameras? Let's dive into what we can expect from the R1 Mark II, and whether this move could revolutionize the world of professional photography. If you've ever been in a high-speed photography situation, especially when capturing fast-moving subjects, like athletes or wildlife, you've likely encountered the rolling shutter effect. This happens because traditional camera sensors capture images line by line, leading to visible distortions when fast motion is involved. A global shutter, however, solves this issue by capturing the entire frame at once, eliminating the distortions, and providing crisp, clear images of even the most dynamic scenes. Sony's A93 currently boasts a global shutter and has garnered significant attention for its ability to shoot at an incredible 120 frames per second while maintaining full autofocus and exposure control. Canon's EOS R1, while a fantastic camera, still relies on its fast-stacked CMOS sensor, which, although speedy, doesn't entirely eliminate the rolling shutter problem. So, if Canon plans to remain competitive, particularly in the high-speed segment, the EOS R1 Mark II may need to adopt a global shutter. No easy task, given the technological and cost-related hurdles involved. Canon has long been an innovator in the camera world, developing its own imaging sensors rather than relying on third-party suppliers like Sony. This independence has allowed Canon to refine its technology and experiment with new advancements. Back in 2016, Canon released the EOS C700GS, a high-end cinema camera featuring a global shutter sensor. While this was far from a consumer model, it proved that Canon had the capability to implement this technology, suggesting that a global shutter in a future flagship mirrorless camera could be possible. However, Canon has yet to integrate global shutter technology into their consumer cameras, and there's a reason for that. The shift to a global shutter involves more than just improving speed. The challenge lies in maintaining dynamic range and minimizing noise, especially in low-light situations. While the global shutter is indeed faster, it sometimes sacrifices the flexibility needed to capture fine details in shadows and highlights. Balancing these trade-offs would require Canon to refine the technology to a level that meets professional standards. The pressure is mounting for Canon to adopt a global shutter, especially as Sony's A93 continues to dominate the market. The A93's 24.6 MP full-frame sensor and ability to shoot at 120 FPS have made it a favorite among sports and wildlife photographers who require speed and precision. Canon has been a leading player in professional cameras for decades, but the longer they wait to introduce this technology, the more they risk losing market share to Sony and other competitors. Canon's strategy for the R1 Mark II is clear. Focus on speed, responsiveness, and autofocus. In an interview, Canon's chief engineer Takara revealed that the company isn't planning to release multiple flagship models. Instead, they intend to combine all their best features into a single device. This means the R1 Mark II must not only compete with the A93 in terms of speed, but also exceed it in autofocus performance, dynamic range, and low-light capabilities. A global shutter could be the key to achieving this balance. The global shutter holds tremendous potential for improving camera performance, especially in action-packed scenarios. If Canon can integrate a global shutter into the R1 Mark II without compromising image quality, they could redefine what's possible for high-speed cameras. Canon's renowned dual-pixel autofocus system, already one of the best in the industry, could be paired with a global shutter to deliver flawless tracking and performance at speeds previously thought impossible. However, the shift to a global shutter comes with its own set of challenges. One of the primary concerns is maintaining dynamic range. Traditional rolling shutters allow for longer exposure times, giving the sensor more flexibility in capturing a wide range of details. A global shutter, in contrast, captures the entire frame instantly, which could lead to a loss in dynamic range and increased noise in low light conditions. Canon must ensure that they don't compromise the very qualities that have made their cameras beloved by professionals, particularly their exceptional color science and impressive dynamic range. Additionally, the integration of a global shutter is a costly and complex process. The R1 Mark II is expected to be a premium camera, and introducing cutting-edge technology could push the price even higher. If the price becomes too steep, it could alienate certain segments of Canon's core audience, particularly professionals and enthusiasts, who are already working with Canon's high-end models. To make the EOS R1 Mark II a true breakthrough, Canon must focus on two critical areas: global shutter integration and autofocus performance. The ideal scenario would see a global shutter with minimal drawbacks, allowing for high-speed shooting without sacrificing image quality. The autofocus system, which Canon has already perfected, must be able to keep up with 120 FPS shooting without missing a frame. This would be a game changer, especially in fast-paced environments where precision is paramount. Another key consideration is battery life. Shooting at ultra-high speeds demands significant power, and Canon will need to ensure that the R1 Mark II can handle long shooting sessions without draining the battery too quickly. Lastly, video performance is an area that cannot be overlooked. A global shutter could significantly reduce rolling shutter effects in video, which would be a massive improvement for filmmakers who work in high-speed environments. The camera landscape is shifting rapidly, and Canon isn't the only one eyeing the global shutter technology. Nikon, after acquiring RED, now has access to advanced sensor designs, and is rumored to be working on incorporating global shutters into their future flagship models. With Sony leading the charge and other manufacturers gearing up to follow suit, Canon must act quickly to stay ahead of the curve. If Canon can pull off the integration of a global shutter while maintaining their signature image quality, dynamic range, and autofocus excellence, the R1 Mark II could be a game changer. This move would set a new standard for professional mirrorless cameras, and Canon could once again solidify its position as the leader in the industry.